Hey, welcome back, Time Revival. We're going to set you up with a little bit about the clean here today in this video. So pay attention because this could change your life. Roger, take it away.
Yes. Oh, my turn. All right. We want to be clear here. This is not an intro how to clean video. This is, these are a few things that we commonly coach and help people improve. Part of what we've been finding, especially lately, is the thing that we're really coaching or changing is the concept of the clean. It's not the physical ability to do it. We train a lot of great really talented, strong people, a lot of good coaches that have all the prerequisites, but for whatever reason, the theoretical framework is altered. So what we want to do today is we want to go over some really, really basic things to help you get a theoretical framework for the clean and give you a few checkpoints, landmarks, things to watch for. Because if we understand what the clean is accomplishing, if we know what lines and what motions we're looking for, and if we know just some basic rules of physics and biomechanics, then we can coach in very, very simple terms. So why don't you pull up that video and we'll get, or not the video, I'm sorry, the photo. We'll get started with that because that talks about a few of the different phases. Oh, we can see your, oh, I was looking at your desktop. All right, wow, look how big I am. All right, so what we're looking at here.
You're trying to find some like incriminating stuff on me or something?
No, well, I was hoping, but no.
I have like
Nothing.
a secret desktop, Roger. It's a secret.
Oh, well, not anymore. All right. So if we look at the three panels here, and we'll go over a video that shows some of this stuff. But if you look at the three panels, and we're starting all the way on the left with the little blue rotating thing, the first thing we need to think about is what is the objective of a clean? And we're not talking about a training objective, just talking about what do we want to do? We want to take a kettlebell that is on the floor and we want to do a particular kind of clean. This is a swing clean. There are other cleans, but this is not what we're talking about today. We're talking about a swing clean. So we want to take a kettlebell that's on the floor. We want to swing it back between our legs, and then we want to get it forward, up, and into the rack position. That is what we're trying to do. So first things first, and again, this is going to be repeated in the video, but first things first, when we get into the path of the bell, really important to grab toward the inside horn of the kettlebell. When you apply force to the kettlebell, you're using your lower body, your leg drive to bring the kettlebell forward, and you grab the inside horn, that is going to cause the kettlebell to rotate in a different way. So whereas a snatch, when you grab toward the middle of the handle, it's going to rotate forward like a car tire. The clean, when you grab on the inside horn, is going to rotate more like a record. Okay, it's really going to be a combination of the two, and that motion is going to translate diagonally. Okay, so you're really looking at a diagonal. If you look at where the kettlebell starts and where the kettlebell finishes, that's depicted in the third photo all the way on the right. You're looking at a diagonal. Hey, watch your pointer, buddy. Don't put it where you just put it. so what we're doing is we want the rotation of the bell to help us rather than fight against us. And when you look at a common problem with the bell kind of flipping end over end and smacking somebody, you can see that it's rotating the wrong way. So the take home from the first photo there on the left is that, one, we've got to figure out what our movement objective is. And we want to grab the horn toward the inside handle and make sure that it's rotating toward the side with the rack. Okay. Now, the second part of the video, or part of the photo rather, in the middle. Whoa, dude, what are you doing?
Sorry.
All right. We're fiddling with it. We're live here, man. We're live. All right.
We're doing live.
So another thing that you hear a lot about, coaches will say, use the hips, use the hips, use the hips. That's true. I don't know that everybody really understands the full ramifications of that statement. So, you know, when you're going back into your objective, you look at your objective and then you look at the tools that you have to achieve that. So what we really have is we have horizontal power or horizontal force from the hip, and then we have some vertical force from the knee. You're going to use both. So as you swing that kettlebell back, the arm gets nice and tight to the body. You power it with your lower body. The clean, whether, you know, this applies for the swing, the snatch, it's pretty much done by the time the kettlebell gets to the waist. So if you look at the photo, that kettlebell it's floating right around waist level. Okay, my hips are done extending, my knees are done extending. I'm pretty much straight up and down at this point, and the kettlebell is rotating toward my rack side, and you're looking now at the pull. Okay, so as you're generating what will end up being primarily horizontal force because you are using more of a swing pattern, that kettlebell is going to want to shoot forward. Okay, well, we don't want it forward, we want to yank it back into the rack. So, you know, the purpose of this particular post, that's what this photo was pulled from, is that, you know, the whole idea of, you know, zipping up your zipper or hoodie or whatever doesn't really apply because people don't put zippers there. Okay, that's not even on my body really where I'm pulling. You can see my arm is low. Okay, and it's pulling that bell into place. So the bell at that point is roughly over my hip. Okay, my arm is close to the side of my body. The bell is rotating and I'm yanking. So the sequence here then, if we kind of do a recap, is we have grabbed the bell in the right position, okay, toward the inside horn. We have applied the force with the hips and with the quads to get the bell up. We've done everything we need to do with the lower body, okay? Now all we're doing is we're using the upper body to guide that kettlebell back, okay? When the pull happens, you can see that my elbow is low, my shoulders for the most part down. You're yanking that bell back when it is in front of your hip, okay? You see the line roughly between the hip and the foot. It's not, you know, it's pretty close to my heel. Everything's lined up pretty well. I'm pulling that back, okay? And the third photo all the way on the right again is me catching it in the rack position, okay? You can see how it's resting nicely. You can see the slight 45-degree angle of the handle because I've grabbed the inside horn. So the bell is resting really, really comfortably. And you can see that arrow, how it's gone from basically the center between my hips out to the side. That is the proper path of the clean. It's not straight up. If you go straight up, you're going to be doing a lot of arm pulling. You're going to get a lot of elbow flare, and this is generally a weak position. So we're not doing this. We're not pulling here. Okay, we're using our lower body. That force is coming up. The rotation is happening. We're yanking that bell once it gets over our hip, and we're bringing it over the hip to catch it in the rack position. You see the overall diagonal. So I think that's clear so far, but let's, anything you want to add or anything that doesn't make sense to you, Jeremiah?
No, it really does make sense. And I think a really big takeaway, and you've mentioned it a couple of times, is actually grabbing that kettlebell more near the horn on those cleans. And that's something that, you know, we see in some of our instruction that we kind of fix up right away. If it's a habit that you have, it's probably one you're going to want to get out of first, the better cleans.
Yeah. Now we're going to go to the video. Hold on one sec. I want, notice where that line is, you know, going diagonally. No, the all the way on the right, diagonally from there. Yeah. Because if you look at that line and then you look at my forearm, imagine my forearm were to go down. If it were to extend, it's going to make an X. And that's going to be that's going to be relevant in the video because of where people are actually applying force. You know, people talk about a spear hand, which goes straight up kind of vertically. Now, technically a spear can go any direction, but the spear hand tends to bring things up vertically. And the force of the catch to more properly or directly oppose the force of where the clean is going should make that X and go in opposite directions. And the video, I put little thingies on it so you can see. So go ahead and pull that video up if you will.
Yeah, and that makes a lot of sense too, because ultimately, you know, all right, here we go. I'll just go ahead and play it.
Okay, so first there's the X. So you're grabbing toward the inside horn, okay?
Cool.
So you're gonna swing it back. You're gonna use the power from the legs. So the hips are gonna extend, okay? The hips are gonna extend, the knees are gonna extend, and then you can see that diagonal path, okay? You see the diagonal path going from the hips all the way out to where I'm catching the bell, okay? Go ahead and let it play. And then you can see the direction up soon here. You're gonna see the direction. So hips are done. That's when the bell really comes up. And the arrow is pointing in the direction where I want my force. That's where I'm catching the bell. I'm not bringing my arm straight up. I'm bringing it in, okay? That is what is going to oppose that force. And if I have enough speed in order to, that speed is going to counteract the force of the force of the bell.
Where the bell's going.
Yeah, because I mean, if you're looking at force, we're looking at a few variables. We're looking at mass and we're looking at acceleration. And you know, these all have properties of force. And my arm doesn't have as much mass to offset that. You know, I don't think my arm weighs 54 pounds. I believe that's a 24 kilo I have. But it does have more acceleration. So if I go fast enough, I'm going to be able to offset that. And that's really the point. So you can see that the hips and the legs are pretty much done before the bell really starts, going up. You don't want to see the bell rising up before the legs are done. Okay. Now you can go ahead and put up the other video. There's one more here. That will give an idea for a drill. Excuse me. That's really helpful. There it is. Okay, so when we look at the video here, you can't completely tell because of the angle, but what I've done is I have set up a mobility stick in a squat rack so it sticks out, and you can see the end of the stick here is roughly center line. Okay, if the camera had the proper angle, you'd see it's exactly center line. Okay, what I do is I do a little bit of rehearsal. So I do the move unloaded. I want to make sure I give myself room for the kettlebell, but I want to make sure that I'm setting up properly because I don't want to do this while I'm loaded. It's much harder. So I went through a clean, completely unloaded to make sure that everything was in the right spot. Now, what I'm doing is I'm putting the stick in front of the center of my body. Now, recall, we don't want to pull straight up the center, and see the kettlebell already is veering off to the side. If my path were to come straight up the center, I'm going to hit the stick. Okay. So that's a bit of a problem. So what I'm doing is basically using a constraint, limiting my movement options to make sure that my clean has the proper path, which is diagonal. Okay. Now, another thing you can't see from that angle is the stick is actually pretty close to my body. Okay, so I'm not giving myself a lot of room between the stick and my torso. There's not much at all. Why I'm doing that is when you're looking at a clean, if you can go ahead and play this again, Jeremiah, when the bell goes back, you see that arm is straight and so pause it there. It's nice and tight. It's nice and tight to my body. You want to look at that with the clean. That means right there, that arm is laying across the body. That means that the power from my lower body is going to be transferred to my arm. If I don't see that, then I'm not going to get proper power transfer. Or if I'm standing up and that arm is already away from my body, if I'm leading with the arm, I'm not going to get a good lower body clean. So that's one of the things we want to look for. We want to look for the power from the hip, and we want the arm close. If the stick is too far away, we're not going to get the same thing. But by keeping the stick close, what that means is I have to generate all of the power for the clean with my lower body.
Right.
Okay?
That makes sense.
Otherwise, what's going to happen is if I'm leading with my arm, I'm not going to be able to keep it that close. I'm not going to be able to generate enough momentum. My arm is not there to generate the force. My arm is there to control the force that my hips have created. So you can see by keeping the stick both in front of my center line and close to my body, I have to get the proper diagonal path, not a vertical path. Again, it's not a zipper unless you've got some kind of weird Michael Jackson zippers. So one, I've got the proper diagonal path, but two, I'm making sure that I have to pull, or I have to use my lower body, and I have to keep it tight to my side. Okay. And these are things that you just simply will not be able to do if you're using your arm. Okay. Yes, obviously you use your arm, but your arm is for control. It's not for force generation. So if we're recapping,
if you use it for the,
go ahead.
I say if you use it for the force generation, that's going to kind of probably lead into some of those banging cleans that you might get and things of that nature. And
Absolutely.
I suspect even if you have that disconnect with your arm to your body, you're gonna really not have much of a choice but to have to incorporate more arm than is probably necessary.
Exactly right. There's going to be I don't know what that number is, but there's going to be a certain amount of force that you're going to need to generate to complete the movement objective. And if you're not using the ideal stuff, the stuff you want to use, you've got to use something else. So it's going to be the arm. So by putting the stick there, what you've done is you have, again, you've made sure that it is not going to be a vertical path, because if it is, you're going to hit the stick, and you're also making sure that you're using your lower body. Okay. So the checkpoints that you're going to look for, making sure the arm is straight as you're in the bottom of the clean, make sure you get that arm to body contact. Okay. You're going to want to make sure too that the hips and the knees are either done or mostly done by the time the bell is already rising up. So that by the time the bell passes my waist, there you can see the legs are pretty much done. Now, one thing to keep in mind is I'm kind of busty, and when I lay my arm over my rib cage, it doesn't lay flat. So my arm is going to lead my hip a little bit. So it's not going to be the same for everybody. That's why we do the rehearsal. Okay, you want to make sure what's going on. So Jeremiah has more of a straight up and down shape. Okay, so when he does his cleans, or when he has his arm along his body, it doesn't stick out as far. Okay, he also has longer arms than I do. So there's some different variables. But again, if we know the proper framework, okay, we know our objective, we know the ideal way to get there, we can start to look at our lines. Okay, you can look at the bell. Watch the bell one more time. Watch how it's rotating. Look at the flat part where the numbers are. Okay. And you can even see as I'm going back, I'm beginning the rotation. That bell is not coming straight up, it's rotating toward the side. You can even see the sticker on the bottom. Okay, that is the proper rotation of the bell. We see the proper path of the bell. And we also see that the lower body is powering this, not the upper body. So those are the big things that we want to look for. So we've got some theoretical framework to understand it. We've got some checkpoints to look for, and we also have a drill that can help to improve the clean. And if you don't have a mobility stick, set up a foam roller or something soft that if it gets in your way, you're going to hit it. And it's a really simple drill. You either hit the thing or you don't. Done.
Yeah, and that's excellent. And just hitting those check marks, and even if it's not exactly like completely flush, like you said, going with your body and maximizing those check marks is gonna do you a great deal. And so when you talk about the foam roller, you're thinking just setting it straight up and down, right? And then it's right there for you. Oh, still on the side like that? Okay.
On the side. Now, if you have a problem with the foam roller getting away, you could theoretically use the edge. The problem though with the foam roller might be you're going to be tricky with the spacing. You also want to make sure this can get into torso length, but you also want to make sure that you're not going to smack your head into it. So
it looks like you're doing right here. Are you okay? it's
I'm
hitting you
okay.
right in the eyeball.
It's close, but it's close, but as long as you hinge back enough, you'll be fine. But I also found when I've done this in the past with the foam roller vertically, it's a little bit harder to position, and sometimes you'll knock it over just by the wind of the kettlebell going by.
Yeah,
So
and the more I think about it, like so we got all this extra room right under here where your kettlebell exists, and if your foam roller's right there, it's not really, it's now competing for the same space, and
yeah,
so it does need
so
to be this horizontal style.
yeah, you could pull it off vertically, but horizontally, setting it up on the edge of a couch, on the edge of a
Mhm.
counter, a squat rack is obviously ideal. You can tie it up with
Yeah,
bands, get creative, whatever you need to do.
yeah, or a training partner, whatever. So
Well, if
there's
you
a
have
way.
somebody who can hold it for you, that's also ideal. So
All right, cool. I like it.
I
Good
think
stuff.
that's I
Anything
think
else
that's
with these?
about it. No, I think that's about it. Yes, there's more to a clean, but these are some of the bigger problems that that we see. Um, and this is just some basic information we want to put out there. I'm not speaking for you, I'm speaking for myself, but I imagine you had a similar issue when you were learning to clean. You were following what your coaches were telling you, but it wasn't making sense. And sometimes you
Right.
do what your coaches are saying, but your coaches have a more advanced understanding. It makes sense to them, and it makes sense to me now that I know how to clean. But when I was first starting, it didn't make any sense. And I'm like trying to zip up my zipper, and that's how I was taught.
Yeah, me
Exactly. I'm
too.
trying to zip up my zipper. My shoulder hurts, my elbow hurts, my wrist hurts, my cleans are clunky. I was like, what's going on here? And all the focus of the cues was on the upper body, which made me almost immediately think about pulling with my arm. Okay. So when you're cueing something for the upper body, that's where your awareness is going to go. There was no thought
Mhm.
of there was no thought of the hip, even though they kept saying use your hips. They were telling me to use my hips. Nothing very specific about those cues, but they were then saying zip up a zipper. That was a lot more specific, and I had a pattern in mind. I've zipped things up before. Okay, that I was pretty good at. So
Turns out. I think what's really great, and if I just look at these things, and let's say I'm not, I'm just an average person who can clean the average kettlebell. For the record, I'm an extraordinary person that can clean the kettlebell extraordinarily well. Okay. Um, what sticks out to me for sure is definitely, just that notion of that it's going to be pulled in front of the hip, and I really like that X part with the arm where you come across. Where you essentially, the X is the path of the kettlebell, and then you're catching it in there. So right then and there, you're meeting it where it's at, and thus it's probably going to be a bit of softer of a landing for what you're going for. I mean, obviously, it depends on how big the kettlebell is, um, and then boom, now you're right in that position to where all you got to do is make a slight move, and then maybe get into your press or something like that. So
well,
if you even need to, but it depends on.
put your forearm back up for me, but something to think about. The angle of your arm and where the X is in part going to be determined by your body shape and how close you can get that arm. So when I
Sure.
do my X, when I have my bicep and my tricep up against my lat, I'm gonna get a bit of a steeper angle. He's got longer arms and he's a little more narrow, so his is going to be more vertical. So there's no need to go straight across and think, you're not throwing a punch. You're really just,
Yeah.
you're meeting it where it
Well,
is. Well, your body's still tight. Your arm is still tight too. Yeah, we're not doing that.
Billy Blank style. But chances are, when you're doing that, you're gonna know right away if you go into something like this. This isn't looking like what you just saw in any of our videos, or really probably anything you've done before. So like you as the kettlebell practicer watching this, but yeah, so it's really good. Those things are really helpful. And even if you don't have that stick to drill it, that slow motion video tool is really helpful. You can really see. And the other thing that stood out is that one video, that last video we show, where you can really see where the bell is in that flat, basically that parallel handle position. When you bring it back, you rotate it. So you're internally rotating, you come out, and you externally rotate, and it just kind of follows all the way around. It just nicely, just like the Earth's axis,
Yeah.
all the way around.
Yeah.
Yeah,
rather
and
than-
that's just, if you wanted to simply evaluate your form on that, is your kettlebell doing that? If it's not, then there's something that's probably off. So grab near the horn. Anything else?
No, I'm tired of talking.
All right, good. I'm tired of listening. So check us out, and hopefully that was helpful for everybody, and more to come. Pay attention and stay strong.